I kept kneeling by Khan's body, whispering, "Why is this happening?" Khan was a soldier who had followed me in battle since the beginning of crossing to the friendly land. 2 bursts of bullets from the new soldier did what the Pol Pot troops could not do for more than 2 years. Shooting each other by mistake in war is not unheard of, but why in this case was it so bitter? It was so bitter. I stood up abruptly, shouting loudly who shot who. Just hearing the voice of him, I immediately slapped the new soldier's face like a thunderbolt. "Scoundrel!" A whole set of false teeth flew out of his mouth. I don't understand why people still drafted this guy. I grabbed his collar, intending to punch more into the face of the soldier, who was shrinking like a frog, trembling violently because of too much fear. Then suddenly I stopped growling. "You sit still here and watch the body until morning. If you let rats bite off a fingernail, watch out." The next morning, the shouldered his backpack to go to school, at the same time carrying his fellow countryman, his close comrade, up to the regiment cemetery with the brothers. Until before the day the company was supplemented with a new recruit batch on May 27, 81, Company 4, lost 3 more comrades. The manager Kong was transferred to school, then to another unit. Quang Flat Platoon, leader of Platoon 3, was seriously wounded by a mine planted by Company 2 to hunt animals when going to improve meals, and that the cook shot himself in the foot, self-inflicted injury. The case of Hat injuring himself was both angry and pitiful. Hat, from Vin City, enlisted in 76. He was inherently cowardly, so I had to withdraw him from Platoon 1 down to be a cook, yet he still injured himself. Had declared after receiving the guard shift, he bent down to pick up the shirt to put on it, caught the trigger so the gun went off. 1 bullet pierced the foot, 1 pierced the ankle. I went down and saw Head holding his leg, grimacing and crying. I just shouted, "Stand up," then it burst into tears, sobbing voice trembling, speaking through tears. "Brother Hung, forgive me. I made a mistake, oh my God." After that moment, I felt the atmosphere thicken to the point of suffocation. An endless sadness invaded me. Then I cried, seemingly crying more than Hat. Suffering a wound caused by himself, writhing in pain. The pain in me was perhaps even more terrible. 2 bullet wounds where his foot was. "Well, bandage it for him tomorrow, carry him up to the regiment, say he was shot by Pol Pot." "Damn it!" I told the brothers and walked slowly back to the command bunker. My heart heavy, the Samlot sky was also gradually brightening. After the incident of Hat injuring himself, Company 4 had only 14 people left. The hardest thing was at night, 2 people per guard post. I and the liaison boy, Q Van Dao, a 78 soldier from Bình Định, guarded 1 post. Only standing in the guard post alone, hugging a gun, awake for 5 consecutive hours in the night, can one deeply understand many things about human feelings and the world. On clear nights, looking up at the sky sparkling with thousands of stars, looking at the North Star of the Little Bear constellation, it is at the end of the Dipper handle, but distant, sometimes dim, sometimes clear. That place is home, the lonely morning star twinkling behind the leaves, seemingly near yet far. Calling. Every night towards morning there was the sound of the bat code Troy cot bird chot bop, lonely calling each other, echoing in the quiet night. The sound of wind shaking leaves rustling, the sound of light falling dew, seeping cold, and nights of pale trembling moonlight. At that time I felt even more bored and stuck, wanting to punch, to break, to struggle, to forget everything, to return everything, wanting to scream. Scream, demanding release, unable to be released. When the fierce war lacked to the extreme and still saw no end, I used to doubt this feeling of my own. It is true that being in that situation, or putting oneself in that situation, can one understand, can one sympathize fully with one's comrades. No wonder a few soldiers had to seek a bullet for release like at my soldier just did, and was my behavior towards that correct? Those who are veterans of Regiment 250 in the period 1979-1981 surely cannot forget the battle where Pol Pot attacked the entire defensive line of the regiment in late 1980. After exactly 21 days, Battalion 1 abandoned a pat, withdrawing to Sam Lot. We had enough time to consolidate bunkers and positions, preparing for the situation of Pol Pot attacking the unit. Because we understood that sooner or later that would happen. Only that during this time the entire battalion had not been supplemented with more troops. Each unit had only around 20 gunmen. At 9 in the evening on November 23, 1980, guns suddenly fired fiercely in the direction of Company 18. Later I learned perhaps this attack prong of Pol Pot was exposed, so they opened fire earlier than expected. Hearing the gunfire too harsh, we sprang up. The Company 4 command at that time only had 2 political officer H on leave. Deputy Company Commander Mint Hung followed the cadre group to Battambang City to receive troops and hadn't returned. Deputy Company Commander then had just gone around the unit to check guards. The 2 brothers were still lying on the bed talking nonsense. Immediately I assigned Than down to Platoon 1. Than just left the bunker house when gunfire exploded in the direction of Company 1, almost simultaneossly on all directions. Our outpost positions from Tu Sok and Dong and Sam Lot were attacked simultaneously by Pol Pot. Up to 5 75mm recoilless rifle shells were fired in a high arc from the direction in front of Company 1, exploding scattered in the Company 4 area, especially B-41, the improved type we later called B-45. They fired a lot, firing high arcs into the defensive areas of Company 4. Many rounds fell and exploded in the gap between Company 4 and the battalion headquarters. I held an AK submachine gun following the communication trench. Behind me, liaison boy Q Van Do dragged the wired telephone wires messy, running out to the fortification, placing the 82 mortar. Because the unit had few people, I unified the commander's position would be the 82 mortar bunker. I would directly command and together with a gunner drop mortar rounds. All other brothers with infantry guns went out to the trenches to fight defensively. In the direction of Company 1, each halo of light continuously flared up rapid explosions. The phone rang loudly, Brother Hoa's voice. You prepare to fire support for Ongan, okay? Remind troops to be vigilant, they are very reckless. How is the situation over there? I reported briefly to reassure him. Brother Hoa said a single sentence. Good. Then hung up. 3 minutes later, I called Angan. Angan spoke as if screaming. I can't hear anything, ears ringing, smoke filled my bunker. Mr. Hung, fire support for me. I spoke like shouting into the phone. I'm firing. Firing now. Don't let the outpost be overrun. Overrun means I die. No way to retreat. Retreat is death. The target marker was already planted. I checked the range and direction scale again, then directly stood at the position of gunner number 1. Hiep Small was gunner number 2, then dropped around to serve as a basis for adjustment. Don't know if Comrade Ngan judged the explosion point accurately or not, only heard Ngan call back, voice panting, excellent, excellent. So I gave 20 rounds immediately. The distance from Company 4 to Company 1 was 1,250 meters, but I attached Charge 1 to make the drop of the round cross, less rounds falling evenly outside the stream bank in front of Company 1. A while later, the gunfire stopped completely. Through that night until morning, Pol Pot attacked Company 1 3 or 4 more times at the same time, fired high-angle firepower into the Company 3 headquarters area, especially my Company 4 area, because the position of the support mortar had been exposed. In that chaotic night, I had to put the AK muzzle to the head of Nguyen Ma Hoa, deputy platoon leader of Platoon 3, recoilless gun threatening to pull the trigger. Just because Hoa was afraid, not accepting the order to lead the platoon across the open ground, Pol Pot was shelling continuously to go up to the battalion ordnance warehouse with the battalion transport platoon brothers to move mortar ammo back for the unit. My Platoon 3 at this time only had 2 people, her and A. The 24th day from 5 in the morning, Pol Pot opened fire, continuing the attack. The situation was extremely tense, but absolutely from officers to soldiers of ours, no one wavered or panicked. Everyone was calm to the point of hardening. Trongbeard the cook silently washed rice, cooked and boiled rice, bringing to each combat trench each position for the brothers. 82 mortar ammo was supplemented into the bunkers, adding 50 rounds. What we were extremely worried about was the direction of Company 1, but it seemed the form of attack of the Pol Pot troops was still just raids with strong intensity, not fortified attacks to capture our outposts. With a battle system like ours, currently the position had nothing to worry about. We always controlled the situation in the direction of Company 3 well. Even Pol Pot only dared to fire various types of high-angle firepower from the other side of the Sankey River. After 2 days of fighting, Battalion 1 also had losses. Company 1 sacrificed 1 wounded, 3 battalion headquarters also wounded 3. On other directions, throughout the defensive line of Regiment 250, especially the direction of Battalion 2 and Regiment directly subordinate units like Company 16, Company 21, Company 18 Infirmary Logistics Section, political section were all fiercely attacked by Pol Pot, especially the logistics section area, along with Company 18120 Mortar, exposed themselves to shelling of various types of 82-120 mortars and 75 recoilless rifles of Pol Pot. Some places felt they had come very close, risking losing the outpost, like the 105 artillery position brothers used flechette rounds to fight defensively. Many examples of brave, courageous, and resourceful fighting to hold outposts of many individuals and collectives appeared. Specifically in Battalion 1 was the brave and resourceful example of Deputy Company Commander of Company 1, Nguyen Quang Tao, both directly fighting and commanding combat at the trench. Tao also bravely crawled alone under bullets to the edge of the stream to plant claymore mines to stop the enemy. On the 25th, the division dispatched Battalion 8 of Regiment 31 in, and the regiment manoeuvred Battalion 3 from Asan over to carry out attacks to relieve the units. On the Battalion 1 direction, we also used Company 2- supplemented with a platoon of Company 3 commanded by Acting Battalion Commander Dinh Hui Trong, performing a circle from the right wing, close to the bank of the Sonka River in front of Company 1. At 4 in the afternoon on the 25th, the force of Battalion 3, commanded by Battalion Political Officer Luong Van Wok, carried out a march to relieve Company 1, cutting back from the rear flank of Point 307, and made contact with our Company B. Seeing me coming out to welcome, Brother Uok shook his head, sticking out his tongue, shouting, "You guys fight how that let Pol Pot in so much, I tell you, mortar shells, recoilless shells they cut and left scattered over there." Through 4 days and nights, Pol Pot continuously attacked almost all defensive positions of Regiment 250 from Tu Sok through Sam Lot, then withdrew, showed that the Pol Pot force in this area was not just a handful of ragtag troops lingering on the Thea border anymore, but actually they had been consolidated and supplemented in both numbers and equipment. However, due to two key resistance forces in this area probably not agreeing with each other, this time they had not established the three factions Southwest Front, so the coordination of combat activities between them had not been implemented. My Company 4 was supplemented with 10 new recruits, Phase 1. Brothers were from Tien Giang Ben Tre and Ho Chi Minh City. 15 days later, Brother H went on leave, and then it was my turn to have my name on the list of officers allowed to go on leave coming up. Honestly, I was extremely nervous, just afraid superiors would postpone again. Since I enlisted on April 14, 74, until now, I had one time been on leave in 1977. But that time was striving, so exactly 20 days later I was present at the unit, and until today could I go again. I still remember vividly the hardships and misery of that memorable leave. Our group of officers going on leave gathered in a dong, then organized like going on a combat march. A reconnaissance team with weapons and equipment ready for combat went first to guide cutting through the forest, leading the group. The most dangerous part was passing the forestry intersection where Pol Pot frequently ambushed and planted mines. Brothers seemed to hold their breath, sticking close to each other to walk. Until dusk, we reached Vomia. In that twilight afternoon, after more than 2 years, many people in our group of soldiers going on leave could hear echoing in their ears the sound of children crying, chickens, cackling dogs, barking, the smell of charcoal kitchen smoke, a blue smoke rising from the crooked stilt houses, but truly peaceful and natural like unconsciousness. Our tears flowed out. Lying for nearly 10 days waiting for the train at Station 58310 Bin, we were taken to Song, then to board the train. 4 carriages of soldiers' hammocks hung across and along the luggage racks. On the floor, brothers spread nylon sheets, taking turns lying down, enduring together 4 days and 4 nights of rocking noise and stench. Miserable on the train, but still elated, especially when the train just passed through the high van pass tunnel. A pale moonlit night, suddenly there was something, yes, the tingling, cold, tingling air. It seemed to seep into every sinew and fibre of flesh, the monsoon, the northeast monsoon. That is the specialty of the north, my hometown, that for a long time now we could meet again. During that leave I witnessed so many scenes of extreme hardship of the people in my hometown. People were not starving to death, but the scene of constant lack all year round was common. Villages were desolate and tattered fields continuously failed crops due to natural disasters, floods and pests. Goods were scarce, food was not enough, let alone clothing and education. How many young men, layer after layer, successively set off to enlist to go to battle up north down southwest. Parents and relatives sick couldn't even buy a pill to cure. Market management, forest rangers, tax officials, commune police freely rampaged, searching raiding houses, arresting people, confiscating goods, harassing, unbearable to watch. Many soldiers like us, when returning from leave, didn't even have money to return to the unit. Parents, wives, and children had to borrow, asking how to feel secure to go. People at home worried sick for people at the front. People at the front worried for people at home every time there was a storm, flood, crop failure, famine. But somehow naturally I felt hatred for war, the source of so much suffering and misery. Looking at the recent scenes of killing, I felt even more disgusted. The unit had many changes. Deputy Battalion Commander Min Hung was discharged. After 2 more supplementations, the troop strength of Company B rose to 35 people. At the battalion, Brother Din Hui Trung from Deputy Battalion Commander was promoted to Battalion Commander. Brother Hugh, Political Officer, then Brother Hoa, Deputy Political Officer, were all withdrawn to the division. Brother Hugh later sacrificed in Ampin in the K-84 campaign. The situation of clinging, raiding, ambushing by Pol Pot troops was also less tense. By the end of 1981, units of Friendly Division 196 were brought in. The Samlot area was happy as Tet when a friendly battalion with weapons, clothes, vehicles, all brand new Soviet equipment, lived interspersed with our battalion. Soldiers of 196 had plenty of salary. Officers from company level up were all called Luk Thum soldiers, meaning big boss. Chicken, pork, bio wine drinking to the sky. On May 12, 1982, we handed over to San and Dong Samlot to the friendly unit, only leaving Battalion 3 in there. After exactly 2 years, 5 months, and 12 days, Regiment 250 came to stand and fight here to withdraw to Pro Maya. In October 82, I parted with Company 4 brothers after more than 4 years as company commander to go to the regiment staff, then to the division logistics department to work and wait for policy resolution for discharge. Brother Ainch was transferred to replace Brother Hoa as Deputy Political Officer of Battalion 1. Then Su went to school. After finishing school, he was assigned as Political Officer of the Division Guard Company. On October 10, 1978, after nearly a full day sitting on a Zin 157 truck full of military supplies of Regiment 250, received from the Dak Lak Provincial Military Command, I arrived at the Pu Prang T Hill area of Dak Hewitt, the standing point of the regiment headquarters, Regiment 250. The road from Buan Mi Thuat town to the regiment was more than 200 kilometers, but full of hardships, dust blinding. The truck rocked over elephant holes, buffalo holes, especially the section from Jia Naya town, leaving Route 14 cutting into the graded road to the border. The breath of war was clear. A large area of the border region of Dak Lak Dak Nong, sparsely populated, many villages of new economic zone people abandoned. People had evacuated and fled. The wrecks of GMC trucks of Regiment 812, ambushed and burned by Pol Pot crossing the border, lay burnt by the roadside. Heard that more than 20 of our officers and soldiers were wounded in this incident. Company B Political Officer Leak Swan Anch sent a liaison boy to the platoon to pick me up. Brother Ain from Quin Phu, I'd been enlisted in 72. The day the regiment changed mission, forming Frameworks Company's battalions, then immediately I had to go for training, so almost didn't know anyone's face. Back then, Regiment 250 was still stationed by the Lui River in Luong Son area, Bac Bin District, Thuan Hai Province. In the formation of Economic Group 334, specializing in growing cotton, our generals, proud and intoxicated with victory, always boasted that even the U.S. was so strong, you guys defeated it, let alone growing cotton a petty matter. Sublimated thinking like the manager of Hoang Trung Thong. He waved his hand, drawing both green fields and tomorrow into a picture, so that after more than 2 years pouring down so much money and human effort, destroying dozens of brand new Komatsu bulldozers and gravel, didn't turn into cotton. I remember forever the time reporting on the cotton case, published in many installments around May 1977 by a journalist named Tu Phuong. Heard that this guy was a major general journalist reeking of propaganda. I returned to the unit when the class of new recruits from Thaya Bin Thuan Hai Phu Khan, enlisted in August 78 at the training school, had just finished training lesson 1 infantry being organized by Brother Ainch for branch training. A few brothers from Enchatin, enlisted in August 76, were sent to train as squad leaders at the non-commissioned officer school of Group 334. Among them, some comrades upon graduation were promoted straight from squad leader to platoon officer, deputy platoon leader, platoon leader. May 15th, 78 was the day Regiment 250 from Thuan Hai marched to the border to receive the mission as the 2nd Border Guard Regiment, replacing Regiment 812, so this regiment withdrew to Gia Lai Kontum area, according to the formation of the newly established division. 309. Regiment 250 had been up here for just over a month, enough time to get used to the terrain, consolidate and repair fortifications, bunker houses, and also enough time for a few clumsy new soldiers going to improve meals to hit zip mines, K-58 mines. I was briefly surprised by the terrain of this region. This is the southernmost borderland of Dak Nong, adjacent to Bujia map of Bin Phuoc province. Hills and mountains undulating, disjointed, only where they intersect creating streams are there small patches of dark green forest. The rest is all bare, covered with a kind of low grass full of bomb craters. During the anti-American period, this place must have been extremely fierce. B-52 bombs, chemical poisons shaped the face of Bu Prang Dak Dam. Today the plateau night in dry season. Cold wind rushing in, blowing strongly. In this border region, it is really not quiet. Remembering the session, I went to present myself to receive missions at the battalion command. Brother Doan Trong Ho, a political officer, spoke a lot about the situation here, about the complex situation of the land. I looked at the map, still new, with a few words, border not yet defined, with a depth of more than 8.5 kilometers. Stretching from Dak Dam Stream to Dak Hoyt Stream, currently lying completely within the territory managed by us. This was the excuse for January 1977. Pol Pot sent a whole regiment of Division 920 spilling over to besiege Post 8 armed police for 46 days and nights and occupied some areas of Dak Lap district, now separated into two districts, Bu Prang Dak Dam area, belonging to Tui Dak District, Dak Nong Province, until Regiment 1 Infantry of Division 2 marched up together with the fierce resistance of armed police. Of Post 8 they withdrew. From then until now, Pol Pot still continuously sends small groups across to our land to raid, ambush, kill compatriots, creating tension along the borderline between Mondulkiri and our Dak Lak province. The new company command only had 2. Actually, when newly staffed upon changing mission, it was 3. Me and Brother Van from Than Hoa, deputy company commander. Both of us graduated from the Military Region 5 Military Political School training class for branch commanders. Immediately after the course, Brother then was transferred to re-establish Sapa Battalion 407 of the Military Region. Perhaps for that reason I was forced to leave the school to return to the unit. The cadre lineup of the companies at this time, from platoon leader down to deputy squad leader, were all from the same generation of Ang Shi Tin soldiers enlisted in August 76. The total number when I returned to C4 was 56 officers and soldiers. Regarding equipment, each platoon had a whole artillery gun. 82 mortars alone had 2. The D1 formation was arranged right behind Post 8. The outpost positions were in a narrow area, each company not more than 2 kilometers apart. In the fire direction bunker of Company B, I started immediately training the unit. Each platoon had its own training curriculum suitable for the characteristics and nature of each type of artillery training, right on the field in fortifications or at gun bunkers. On the outpost, there was no hall, no pen and paper, mainly focusing on training operations, practical shooting skills of gunners number 1, 2, 3, 4 to be proficient. The ideology of officers and soldiers was stable, the spirit was enthusiastic. The border situation heated up day by day. To respond to the increasingly escalating provocations and scale of attacks and massacres of our people by the Khmer Rouge, our military forces on the entire southwest border also had fierce counterattacks. On the Cambodian borderline of Military Region 5, there were bloody battles around the area of Border Post 24 and Route 19 extended. Units of infantry divisions, 309, 307 infantry regiments, 94-95 attacked and advanced deep into Cambodian land, occupying some important positions in Ozadado, the threatening Bokio of Ratanakiri province. Battalion 1 organized a border-crossing infiltration into Cambodian territory. That was November 6th, 78. Preparations were made very thoroughly. The force used consisted of 2 platoons of Company 2. Companies 1, 3, and 4 each had a troop strength equivalent to a platoon, but mostly officers from squad leader and above. Company 4 was in the peak phase of the branch training program. However, I discussed with Brother Ainge to stop everything, taking advantage of the time for all officers from gun crew leader up to go on the field trip to experience. Regarding command, Brother Tai, the battalion commander, requested all military commanders and deputies of units combat operations assistants scouts, including reinforced police and border guard scouts, to participate in the marching formation. At 8 in the morning from the company 1 assembly point right behind post 8, scouts cut through the forest to lead the way. We silently crossed the Dak Dam border stream to advance deep into Cambodian land. The border area in the years of fighting the Americans was a familiar operating area for many of our troop units, including Regiment 250 during the period 1968 to 1974. Some veteran officers of the regiment like Brother Tai, Brother Hoa, Brother Cooch, Brother Quian were very familiar with this land. We marched very slowly and cautiously, because the area in front of Post 8 and Company 1 was reported to have many mines of all kinds, messy tunnels. Pol Pot fortifications remained from the 46 days and nights besieging the post. Battalion Commander Nguyen Van Tai did not allow turning on the PRC-25 radio to ensure secrecy. The formation slipped through the forest, crossing a few abandoned villages. Some grave houses had thatch growing overheads. By dusk, I approached the Dak Dam airport area. On the military map, this airport was about 10 kilometers from the borderline. I kept wondering to Brother Tai about this airport because observing I didn't see anything showing technical infrastructure. Because observing in front was just a relatively flat contour, lush green with all kinds of succulent grass, luxuriant, silent, mysterious. I went down very quickly. We slept in the forest. Right at the edge of the airport, I wrapped half a reconnaissance scarf lying neatly in a dirt hollow with some police and border guard scouts. Midnight towards morning dew fell like rain, cold as the northeast monsoon. At 4 the next morning, we silently marched, circling for a while, then cutting through the forest back, completing the infiltration plan, saying it was to experience the terrain, grasp and understand the combat target, but actually our enemy grasping work was very weak. After the war, intoxicated with victory, thinking our country was forever clean of enemies who would dare to invade the borders. As General Secretary Le Duan's eloquent declaration, when the Khmer Rouge completely returned, we were taken aback. We did not know that during this time the entire Division 920 of Pol Pot had been concentrated to deal with us on the extended Route 19 direction. The force directly confronting Regiment 250 currently was only Region 105 troops and Pol Pot guerrillas, possibly including Central Highlands FULRO. However, this force of theirs operated very effectively and flexibly. The entire 3 months later on the Cambodian front, Regiment 250 basically only clashed with this object. About 8 days after the quiet infiltration of Battalion 1 came the one of Battalion 2. This one was organized on a larger scale with more troops, including reinforced Battalion 1 troops commanded by Battalion Commander Le Min Hoa. On the very first night on Cambodian soil, the sleeping outpost formation of Battalion 2 was raided by Pol Pot. A bunker consisting of 3 reinforced Battalion 1 soldiers was killed, completely capturing all weapons and equipment. Battalion 2 withdrew, leaving the dead soldiers unable to retrieve them. Ladies and gentlemen, thus the first unit of Regiment 250 to cross the border into Cambodia when the regiment changed missions was Battalion 1, and the first soldiers to sacrifice on Cambodian soil in the Southwest War of Regiment 250 were also soldiers of Battalion 1. By early December, Company 4 was approved by superiors to test live fire. Ending the training program, the result was 100% meeting requirements. No gun crew achieved excellent grade, making Brother Ainge grumble forever. I smiled and said leisurely, "Good or excellent in this situation is not important as long as the brothers fight well. Battlefield reality later will be the strictest teacher, brother." Next, the battalion continuously studied politics, resolutions, directives, listening to dissemination talks about current events, ideological activities. I knew all was for one purpose: preparing for the march to perform combat missions. During 2 days, December 18th and 19th, a series of military political meetings from regiment down to company, then military council meetings, party cell meetings, youth union meetings, truly spinning. All day because of meetings, Brother Ainge and I lost sleep for several nights thinking about all sorts of things. Honestly, for both of us, this was the first time we commanded a company together participating in a large campaign. Back then I was eager. Being only 22 years old, words and actions were like a leader. Thinking back now, it's funny, enthusiastic and enthusiastic beyond words. On the morning of December 22nd, Brother Ainge, along with some political officers of Battalion 1, went to the regiment headquarters for a meeting, then unexpectedly went on an advance party from there. He only had time to radio back to me, "I have to go immediately. You continue the preparation work alone." So I was frantic. Luckily, my officers were wonderful. The brothers were extremely responsible in the preparation work. Only that superiors disseminated, having to carry 10 days of rice, 200 rounds of ammo per a case, or arranged to carry enough. Soldiers asked squad leader, platoon leader. Platoon leader asked company commander. Well, since superiors ordered so, just strictly comply first. Do you know, being a manned portable artillery firepower company accompanying infantry on combat march on the back, just the artillery equipment was nearly 20 kilograms. Plus personal belongings, canteen grenades, so each person carried on their back and shouldered nearly 40 kilograms. How could they march for long days? At 3 in the morning on December 24, 1978, Battalion 1 quietly left Bu Prang Post 8. We marched back to Dacoit. That night I was really struggling, running back and forth, shouting because the brothers carried 2 heavy loads, and it was the first day of the march. So many people couldn't walk. A few guys took advantage of the brake guns, and ammo couldn't be thrown away, only the rice bag on the neck was possible.